Welcome to Fight News Now Extra. I'm John Pollock with John Ramdeen and Robin Black coming up to chat today's news, which includes the latest on Chael Sonnen failing his random drug test. Dana White cuts a fighter from Saturday's card, and a former tough competitor is coming out of retirement to fight later this summer. ESPN broke the news on Tuesday that Chael Sonnen had failed his random drug test, which the Nevada State Athletic Commission administered, with the drugs anastrozole and clomiphene showing up in his test. The two are not anabolic steroids, but are anti-estrogen drugs, which are banned both in and out of competition for athletes. Sonnen stated on Fox Sports 1 he is planning to launch an appeal and stated he needed to take the drugs in order to get off of artificial testosterone when the NSAC banned it back in February. UFC President Dana White has announced that in light of the incident this past Saturday in Albuquerque where lightweight Jason High shoved referee Kevin Mulhall after his loss to Rafael dos Anjos, that High has been cut as a result of the incident. White told UFC.com that it was similar to the action Paul Daly committed at UFC 113 in 2010 where he sucker punched Josh Koscheck, stating, "You never put your hands on an official." And Fox Sports reported that Kyle Kingsbury is coming out of retirement to return on the UFC on Fox card July the 26th and fight Patrick Cummins in San Jose, California. Kingsbury last fought in September of 2012 where he was defeated by Jimmy Manuwa and was his third consecutive loss, while Cummins got his first UFC victory this past weekend, stopping Roger Narvaez in the second round. And I'm here with John Ramdeen and Robin Black, Mr. 100% Robin Black, and we have lots to discuss because there is 100% confusion, I think, amongst just the world of mixed martial arts. We had this fight on July 5th that was supposed to be Wanderlei Silva, Chael Sonnen. Wanderlei Silva did not take a random drug test. He is out. Vitor Belfort is then inserted, but he had a random drug test back in February that was going to significantly hamper his opportunity to fight on July 5th, leaving one man standing, one man who stood atop the mountain, and he submitted a random drug test on May the 24th, and it came back that he has tested positive for 2 anti-estrogen drugs. There is so much, and Robin, John, and I had like a 20-minute Fight News Now Extra off the air discussing this with Robin's charts, no less, explaining what Chael was trying to do. And I think, guys, to just basically conclude this, Chael Sonnen is someone that coming off of testosterone probably, absolutely needed these drugs. Unfortunately, he was trying to get off of testosterone and also take a fight, and these two things just don't work in concert with one another, where you sign a bout agreement, you're privy to the drug testing, whether it's in or out of competition, these drugs are banned, and it just created this mess that ultimately leads to most likely no fight involving any of these three on July 5th.
Well,
weird.
Yeah, first of all, fighters take drugs? That is so weird. I mean, we had no idea. But yeah, actually, I called a doctor last night. I called a medical professional, and we spoke at length for quite a long time. And he said, without question, if he had somebody that for some reason needed to come off of using a testosterone replacement therapy regimen that he'd been using for some time, he would definitely prescribe both of these drugs. One of them stimulates your testes to start doing its best to, even if you have hypogonadism, to try to make your own natural testosterone again. The other one prevents the development of men's breasts. And that's something most of us would prefer not to have. So both of these things, your test is going back down. He needs it to pop back up and get somewhere in the natural healthy range. Meanwhile, your estrogen and other hormones are up really high. You need to bring those down with HCG and other drugs, or whatever the other one is. It's pretty complicated, but ultimately, he would prescribe both of these. So whose fault is this? Chael Sonnen doing exactly what a doctor would tell you to do for health reasons. Nevada doing exactly what they should do, and that's test for drugs that are illegal. Is the UFC free of blame here? Should they have booked Chael Sonnen? I know he makes a lot of money. I know he's a superstar, but should they have booked him that close to him coming off of drugs?
I'm kind of caught here because Chael Sonnen, when this TRT ban came at the end of February, they had already filmed Tough Brazil. The fight was on the books for him and Wanderlei. It was originally to be the end of May in Brazil. It gets moved to July 5th. Now, there's part of me that, listen, Chael knew, well, maybe he didn't know that these drugs were banned. I don't know.
He should.
You should know that as an athlete, what drugs are banned and what you can use. He should have contacted the commission. There's definitely fault there. At the same time, is it fair that a fighter is allowed to use testosterone and all of a sudden, line in the sand, no, you can't use this anymore, you deal with your body, and Chael's got to step out and say, I can't fight on what is going to be the biggest card, at least thus far, of 2014, there's a lot of gray area here. Should a guy have to take a penalty because you're making this ruling that my body needs time to recover from? In a perfect scenario, you take a couple of months off so that your body gets back into a flow, and then you take a fight. But unfortunately, everything collided each other. You'd already done this season with Vanderlei, and the expectation was you were going to fight this guy, and Chael has a history of he does not say no to the promoter.
You talk about history. It's interesting because I think, you look at when Chael Sonnen started mixed martial arts, it was 1997. There was no playbook. There was no history. These guys were kind of making things up as they went. I'm sure Chael Sonnen never thought that mixed martial arts would get onto Fox and would get the exposure that it got. So these guys were kind of doing whatever to keep themselves safe and to be able to perform. You look down the road and you say, okay, well, this is going to probably lead to you needing testosterone replacement therapy. It's like, sure, we'll just do that. And then they're going to ban the thing, and you guys are going to be screwed altogether. So you kind of feel for the athletes because nobody anticipated that we would be where we are in 2014. Yeah. But they've got to try to sort this out somehow because you kind of feel bad for guys like Brian Stan, who I believe that he probably doesn't do anything. Yeah,
you make a great point, though. Well, let's all not pretend that when this started, this was, bouncer versus ex-con at one time. Guys would travel around the world. They didn't know if the other guy knew the death touch and it would just kill him. They didn't know what they were in store for. Somebody said, hey, my buddy got these. We should take these. They didn't know what it was. There was no banned substances. They did what they had to do to compete in a terrifying sport that had no structure, no rules whatsoever. Fast forward to the future where this is a giant sport with 50 shows a year. The UFC stacked it so tight. All of these moving parts.
And they want it to be a legitimate sport now.
Yeah, a million moving parts. These are growing pains as much as anything else.
Last thing, quickly. Jason High fired for shoving referee Kevin Mulhall. I know you were very high on Jason coming out of his performance. Did the punishment fit the crime in this case?
You look at Jason High, went down to 155 pounds. It was probably difficult for him to do that. He didn't want out of the fight. The referee comes in and takes away his win bonus and wrecks his debut at 155 pounds. These guys are filled with emotion. The referee stops the fight. He shoves him. He knows he made a mistake, but you have to imagine there's all these emotions running through your body, and it wasn't intentional.
I agree with every word you said, but at the same time, I know you also got to set a tone.
Sure.
Guys, if you touch the refs, we'll fire you. Sucks for High specifically, but I think it's what you got to do.
All right. For Robin Black, John Ramdeen, I'm John Pollock, and we've got more Fight News Now Extra coming up.